Me and Dixie always said that there was a curse put on season 2 because it was insane and almost supernatural, the amount of things that could go wrong, from conflicts within the crew to guest judges not replying. I mean, we had to make a lot of compromises.
Fear, anxiety, stress.
Where do we begin?
So of course, season 1 was mostly my own money. So if I wanted to do a second season, we wanted to do more.
Before you can get excited about all the creative stuff, you have to think, where are we going to get the money for this from?
The fundraiser was the right route because we needed to see if there was actually a desire for it to be there.
If people give us enough money to meet the budget, then there's enough interest in the show.
So we let a Kickstarter campaign run for 50 days. We gave out lots of rewards and made it as engaging as possible.
Sid obviously put a lot of time and money into the first season, and then he came up with the idea, which is obviously a great idea because it all worked out in the end.
It got people excited for season 2 while also raising an astounding amount of over £1,000. Having that bigger budget just gave us a lot more room to breathe when we're dealing with a season which is so much bigger in scope.
As anyone who's watched the series would know, Mark Pierre was really critical to the whole series. He had said before that whoever won the series, he'd offer an apprenticeship to.
And we were looking for ways to definitely make the finale a bigger, grander thing this time around. And I came up with the idea of having the 2 contestants cook in Mark's kitchen for actual customers.
I worked with Sid on that idea to build it up to be what it was. We managed to get an email and have a meeting with Mark. Going there was so nervous, we were trying to think of what to say. We had like a whole plan out.
Basically laid it all out about this grand idea that we had of the 2 girls going to the restaurant and cooking.
We got there, and from the first sentence we said to him about could we have the finale here, I think he was more on board with it than we were.
Everything else fell into place really once we had that finale. They're actually working towards something at the end, and that really helped guide everything.
In the pre-production, I got to watch how the show just evolved.
We can lay them all out.
Yeah.
Say, these are the products I bought for you. You come up with dishes from those products.
This is on the 5th of April. But
5th of April. I've got an eye appointment at 9:40 to get new glasses.
Oh, really?
This morning.
So I brought Freddie on looking for a cinematographer because I did the role myself last time and it was quite difficult to balance that as well as producing. Someone to have a vision for how the show should look, to then direct other people would make more sense.
When Sid got in contact with me, I was straight on it because he had everything set. He knew what he was doing, a great producer.
Sid told me about Freddie, and I don't think he had much experience. I did really try and convince Sid, which Sid obviously did.
In pre-production, we had to look at different cameras, lighting, just stuff like that to see what was the best quality we could get with the budget that we had. We had multiple calls going through everything and about the layout of the 2 different places we would film and trying to work out where we put cameras and everything. And I think doing that before we got onto set, just a bit of pre-planning, saved us a bunch of time as well and made things much less stressful.
Obviously, we could do all the production in the world, all the camera work in the world, but without people, without characters, the show has no heart. So it was really key to get the right people for this season. We had a sort of 3-stage process. We opened up a form where we'd allow anyone to register their interest, tell us a little bit about themselves.
We had a number of people applying and a lot of great applications got sent.
We wanted to make it the next level, so we wanted to make sure we definitely had the right people.
We narrowed it down on a few boring things like location.
One big problem is that obviously you live outside of Kent.
The only downfall for a lot of them was that most of the guys that applied looked like they'd have too similar of a dynamic to Henry and Tom, and we just wanted to steer in the complete opposite direction. If everyone that had applied was applying for a first season, it would be a very, very different scenario. That's how we narrowed it down.
After we'd done the form, we did some Zoom interviews. We just sort of chatted, just a bit of back and forth.
So what we do, is we like go around haunted places. We like to talk a bit about like the actual haunted bit of it. And then we like start introducing people to come and date the ghost. And then it's like...
I've got to say, you look very presentable, Jack.
Oh, I had to. I had to come.
What do you think will make you different to Henry and Tom?
Well, I don't want to slag off Henry and Tom, but they were a bit shit.
I think you've got some people who are like a definite, like there's Anise, and then you've got to find who they go up
I
against.
don't really know Daisy that well. I'm quite close
Do you
with
not?
Melissa.
Okay.
So I think...
And Anise has applied. Would you be happy to go up against her?
Oh yeah, definitely.
We'd want a screen test to be able to see that. So do you know what that is?
No.
We took a few different pairs to a screen test. So we sort of did a little mock episode where we just gave them something, told them to cook, and saw how they were. And it was quite tough.
We had a lot of great people there, and it made it very, very difficult to decide.
I went up with another girl who didn't end up being on the show, but I knew her, so it was still quite fun cooking with her. And then also, obviously, a niece. I was paired with Alyssa to see how that would work, and we made spaghetti bolognese.
Ultimately, Anise and Alyssa blew us away just with their chemistry with each other.
I was personally quite adamant that we should get some female representation on the screen. I think through the screen test we saw that they brought a whole different kind of humour to the show.
Anise and Alyssa had a lot of good chemistry between each other. They obviously knew each other.
I feel like Anise and Alyssa have a very different dynamic to Tom and Henry.
It was like cattier.
I think, no, but there's other Italians as well. Like Lady Gaga. Oh, I love Gaga. Yeah, I know you do.
The screen test was an opportunity not only to try a load of different people who wanted to compete on the show, but also to introduce some of the people behind the camera to each other for the first time.
I texted Sid. I was like, does anyone want a coffee? So I got Freddie a coffee. I gave it to him and he was very thankful. And ever since, I think we've been best friends.
I would say I was a little bit worried because sometimes I'm not the greatest in social situations. However, when I got there, within the first 5 minutes, all those feelings went and I got along with everyone so well.
We set up a GoPro and basically let it unfold and then looked back on it retrospectively to decide our contestants.
Can confirm that provided that you two are willing, we'd like to offer you the places as the contestants for the next season of XEN'S Cooking.
But there are some conditions that we got to run over just to make sure you're 100% sure.
After season 1, I think everyone was rooting for Anise to be on season 2.
She was such a big character behind the scenes. We were all left wondering why she wasn't in front of the camera, which is partly why she ended up being the guest judge for the first episode.
We needed something to sort of explain that plot hole effectively of why guest judge from season 1 Anise is suddenly the inexperienced cook on season 2. So what we did was the scene with Anise cooking eggs.
So I call it day 0. This is where we got everyone together for Anise's scenes where she'd be cooking the eggs. This was a chance for everyone to meet for the first time and try out the new equipment we had and things like that in much less of a pressured environment than it would be for the main show.
It allowed people to get to grips with coming back to a set or coming to a set for the first time.
And it also gave us a chance to do something we hadn't done before, which was a fully scripted, choreographed, directed scene.
It was just a laugh with throwing eggs at a pan 6 times just to get the right shot.
Using that Airbnb, a stunning location. We all had great fun filming those scenes and Anise had a lot of fun, definitely, deliberately messing up those eggs. And I think the scene is really, really funny as a result.
That's a wrap on day 1.
Yay! Funniest moments, I would say first one that comes to mind is the Y Mums. I think it's the first night of the Airbnb. Lee wasn't supposed to stay around, but he ended up staying around anyway. And we got wine in from this corner shop and we all drank it. And then, I don't know how it just clicked, but Natalia, Sid, myself, Lee, we were all doing Y Mum impressions.
Little dancing to ABBA at some point, which was great. Yeah, honestly, it was best day by far for me.
Lee going down to collect a pizza, still doing the Y Mum impression on the phone with a glass of wine in hand. That cracked me up for a solid 3 days.
Season 1 days started with Henry having a shoe lobbed at his face. Season 2 days start with us getting our own personal chef. Oh wait, no, it's just Lee.
Oh.
Look at this.
Good enough.
And look at the view. This is what happens when you have a Kickstarter budget, guys. So the first day was huge. We had a lot to do because we were going to the Boy and Oyster as well as filming the first episode.
Me and Sid, we met from uni, we were in a lecture together, and I kind of plugged my photography Instagram page to him, I guess, and then he seemed to like it, and so he offered me into the show and kind of told me a bit about it.
I was meant to be on set last season, but it didn't work out. He did ask me if I wanted to be a producer on the show, and I said yeah, and then I got to be on set this season. I got to see a lot of the creative choices play out, so yeah, it was pretty cool.
One of the first things we did was went to the Boy and Oyster to film a little introductory scene. We all rocked up really excited. We were like, yeah, we're here to film. And then we were like, oh, there's no mics.
Sid called me saying that they didn't have the mics. He was quite stressed and saying, just don't worry about it, it's not going to work out. We won't have enough time because they only had almost like a 45-minute time slot to film, so they'd have to get it all. But me and Dixie refused to let that happen. So she drove us back to the school, and I just ran in. I don't think I've run faster in my life. I just grabbed the whole box of sound equipment stuff, hoping that there'd be a mic in there. We drove pretty quickly to Boy and Oyster.
They had this one take, effectively, to deliver a really critical part of the entire narrative of the series.
Yeah, one take. What are you going to walk in again?
It's on now.
Okay, let's go.
Put your chairs back. No, it's fine. Go.
Thankfully, they did. Otherwise, we'd have had to go sit in like the smoking area for spoons or something to do this instead. So.
Oh, Dixie! Dixie was our amazing set designer. She just put everything into the set, and it was really, really interesting, like waking up next day and going, what's Dixie got in store for us today?
Coming into the kitchen every day, I was just in shock of how well it was decorated.
I was asking myself, what is her job? What does she do? Because if it was set design, I would have believed her. I don't know if it is.
She just would rock up in her car, open the boot, and it would just be overflowing with just all of these props, all of these bits of food, and visually transforms the show in a way that few other people really could.
I came onto the second season after being part of season 1 in a very small aspect. I decorated the premiere. Everyone loved the decoration. I did so much that they asked me to come back and do set design. Pre-production, there was a lot of planning. We used Pinterest to make mood boards, and I looked at local restaurants, local eateries to get some inspiration. Arriving on set on the first day was, I must say, quite intimidating. To take what is a school catering kitchen and try and make it look like a functioning set that I could really make my set design pop on, and really creating that blank canvas was quite scary. It all came together with the help of many people, which I'm really grateful for.
She is amazing. You'd think she was a professional, and I'm honoured to call her my sister.
For the French episode, which was episode 1, I really wanted to kind of mirror a French bistro cafe with the red checked fabric, little lace curtains, all your onions and your garlic. I really went in with the food on episode 1. I made that the focal point. I made a canvas that mirrored what you'd see in a French bistro window, like a gold sign, but personalised that to XEN'S. And I don't know what else we had.
There was this lovely shelf that Dixie created. I thought it would be a lovely thing to do a Big Brother style and have questions come from behind the camera, then them looking into camera and answering them.
We used a lot of props from season 1, and then at the end of every episode we added something from each one, and it just continues on that journey of where XEN'S cooking has come from and where we're heading.
It was lovely to get someone from the actual country we were cooking from, so that was a really interesting thing. And the fact that this was the first episode with 2 judges, that brought a little bit of a different dynamic that we wanted to change up to always show that our show would be ever changing.
I've known Esme and Manu since I was in primary school, so I've spent a lot of time with them, so it was really lovely to welcome them to the set.
In France, you would put that together, but it actually worked quite nicely.
They had no chance to search up anything to do with France. They just got told they had to cook a French dish. That was it. And this is what came to mind.
Okay,
so
exactly. Oh, when you arrived? So you arrived and you
They
were
had
told
no
it's
prep
French.
time.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh, oh you. Alright.
What was quite funny is on the day when Manu arrived, he told me that he hadn't eaten all day because he was looking forward to his meal, and I think he thought that he was in for a treat. I could neither confirm nor deny that he actually did get a treat at the end of it.
The second day, I was told by a lot of people, would be a lot easier than the first day, but we just ran into so many issues. It was just one after another from a technical aspect.
So I came to be on the set for the second day of filming because Sid, the producer, happens to be a very good friend of mine. I have taken a lot of inspiration from this project from him over the years, and I had asked if there was any chance I'd be able to help in any way, and I was very, very, very lucky to be able to be the production assistant.
Can I say action?
Yeah, if you want to.
I'd love to. Okay. Action.
I really wanted to differentiate between France and Italy because I think sometimes that classic cafe bistro European look can end up looking really similar, and where they were back to back I really wanted to make sure they stood out as being different. So I went along the lines of Amalfi Coast, royal blues, lemons, making it really sunny, really vibrant. I borrowed a lot of items from my friend who has a lot of blue and yellow in our house.
She created a nice canvas with lemons on it, which said the second episode of XEN'S Cooking Season 2 in Italian, as well as little directional signs which pointed to a lot of the Italian restaurants in Thanet. A lot of them were actually restaurants that we'd spoken to about being a guest judge but had fallen through, so it was a nice sort of Easter egg to those restaurants to still include them in the show. The camera that I was using that was focused on Alyssa throughout the cooking had some issues with its exposure. Anytime I went over to Anise, it was way too dark, and a lot of the color and things like that just didn't look right for Alyssa. But I thought to myself, oh, well, at least we have Anise's footage.
I went to Jamie, like, not to be like self-obsessed or anything, but I feel like all my stuff's been cut.
All the footage for Freddie's camera in that second day had been deleted.
And Jamie was like, basically the footage got lost.
I feel like the episode does sort of suffer as a result, but I couldn't really take it out of the series. The series just wouldn't really function if you just skipped a day. I just had to roll with the punches. I put out an apology on Twitter and everything like that, and just said that although this episode isn't quite up to the standard that we would have liked, the series does get better and we want people to hold out, and we just kept it as a nice short episode.
Episode 2's guest judge, I actually was the person who found her and got her on board for the series. Our guest judge pulled out last minute, and I was scrambling on my laptop trying to find any sort of person who could take the place. And then I came across this lovely charity called Our Kitchen Margate, and it was run by this woman called Sharon.
I didn't have very high expectations for anyone we would have brought in the day before, but she had a lot of things about her.
I called her up and I said, would you be interested in being in a student series about cooking? And then she was just surprisingly immediately on board. She was like, oh yeah, let me get my planner out. And I was like, oh!
She is absolutely impeccable. I thought she was hilarious for a start. Like, we just sat and spoke for ages. And I'm very socially anxious when I first meet someone, but she just had this like welcoming presence immediately, and she was just so lovely.
As I mentioned, it was quite a stressful day. I came back after she'd already joined us and got to chat to her after we'd finished filming, because she had so much time to offer and really cared about the show. And I got chatting to her about loads of things, from my career to the show itself and its release. That was such a heartwarming interaction, because it had been such a stressful day where I felt like we wouldn't get to the end of it. And having such a human and honest interaction with someone like that, who really thinks we're doing a great job, instilled a lot of positivity back into me, and I went into the third day feeling great just because of that interaction. The third day was great because after all the issues in the second day, everybody came in with a much better mindset. Me and Jamie had quite a lengthy discussion at the end of the second day about what wasn't working. Everything was working on all cylinders again, and we felt like we were back to making something that we were really, really proud of.
I was brought in, obviously, fairly last minute. My job was, as it was described to me, I was to sit at a computer with, this recording software on and make sure that appropriate people have got the right microphones on, the right colour with a charged battery, which isn't an easy thing to keep up with because you've got 4 batteries and I think 3 chargers at one point.
Billy and Ted obviously coming into a set, they're both new to all of this sort of thing, and I think they both did very well for their first time.
Billy as well, particularly, was like really good at going above and beyond and not just doing the audio stuff, but then organising like kind of a lot of the equipment and the data.
He really, really wanted to be as involved as possible, and I have a lot of respect for him for that because it's only people like that that can make the production as good as it can be. So what's happening at the moment then? Give us a little rundown.
Well, we're deciding how we're going to film, so we have to.
So they've got to come in this door.
Hide all the stuff that we don't want on.
Hide all the stuff. Talia, what did you just do?
Well, it's not what she asked Lennon to help.
Took the poster down.
She asked Lennon.
Lennon had to do it
because she's too short.
He's too short.
And Lennon's the only one that's tall. So.
It happens. Freddie, what are you thinking about right now?
I'm
The
thinking
gym?
how
I'm about to beat him up.
I'm thinking about how he's going to shove me over topless.
That is a worry.
Okay. Yeah.
We had an idea for like one of Lennon's openings. He'd be like wandering out on the field.
Freddie would come along and he'd shove Freddie to the side and he'd keep coming towards the kitchen, climb through a cupboard and then just take it all off and act like nothing happened. He's got a cupboard out.
Oh, position!
Oh, position!
There was the running joke through the whole sort of show that every time he seemed to have a camera on me, I was somehow able to just instantly look down the lens of it and I did not know where it was at all. So yeah, that was quite good.
I really wanted to make it a real explosion of colour, bring it back to nature and plants, music. Thankfully, we had a crew member, Lee, who has Caribbean family, has spent a lot of time in the Caribbean, so I picked his brains, really made sure that I was maintaining the authenticity. Also, where Lee has spent a lot of time in the Caribbean, I used a lot of pictures that he'd taken of his time there and framed those and had those on set.
It started in Europe and then went right across to the other side of the Atlantic.
The sort of increase in difficulty that every episode brought was really entertaining in my opinion.
We were both clueless and it added more drama. There was like more meat to it. It's like, in America when they film like reality TV, the producers get them to like argue just for the cameras. It's a bit like that.
I feel like we've changed roles here.
So, Lennon, how's your cooking going today? Tell me what you're making.
So, I'm making some sort of pork dish.
Throughout the series, we had a few really strong comedic moments, effectively. We had Anise flipping the roles on the head and becoming the presenter and making Lennon the contestant. A little drama in the finale about hair in the food. And it's an honour, really, that people would think that we were scripting these parts because we weren't. And it really goes to show that we brought the right people onto the show.
I think because we were both such like stilted characters, I was unwilling to make things flow nicely. Lennon was really trying to get a friendlier vibe going, and I think that bounced off each other. I wouldn't say it gelled well, I think it bounced off because it was like a push and pull.
Alyssa also works in a dynamic with Anise, as she is almost the yin to Anise's yang, because she can be a lot more chatty than Anise, and I feel like cooperates more in certain ways. So like with Lennon has said to me that he found it a lot easier to chat with Alyssa about how she was getting on.
Coming into the kitchen, I thought she was the more comfortable person.
I feel like Alyssa has a very specific sense of humour, which really did bring something interesting to the show this season.
Brings a lot of charisma to the show. She was absolutely amazing to work with. Really, really nice girl. And I hope to be able to do something else with her in the future.
Yeah, I think that looks good, to be honest. I'm pretty happy.
Sid and I were actually, before we even started filming, we were chatting and I was like, oh, so how's the judge hunt going? And he was like, yeah, we're all right, we're just trying to find someone for Caribbean. And I made a joke and I was like, oh, I should get an auntie to do it. And then like 5 minutes later, I was like, hang on a minute, I could literally just get my nan to do it.
Season 1 we had Henry's nan come in. So to have another relative was a very interesting thing to do.
She is so fun to be around. She made the girls feel really comfortable and gave them a lot of insight into the kind of food that she eats and that she would have been expecting.
Lee's grandma, Ginny, lovely lady, she had a little talk with us after, and she sort of just expanded more on what we could have done better and like what she liked about our food, which is really lovely.
It was quite light and calm. So the green popped out.
After the food, she instantly said to me, "Oh, have you got any rum? I really fancy a bit of rum now after that food." And I'm just like, "Oh, Nan, we're trying to film a cooking show."
Thank you.
Morning, Lee.
Morning.
What's happening?
So we've just done the interviews for yesterday's episode. We also have done the intro before we finish up.
Yep, for yesterday's. We're basically playing catch up on yesterday.
And so now we need to do basically the entire fucking episode and then clean up everything.
Oh god.
Make sure everything was the way.
I mean, it looks pretty clean, but this isn't how we found it. This is not how we found it.
Found it and then be gone by 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock?
Considering
what's the time
that
now?
It's 10:44. We need
Jesus.
to 1600. 1600.
Yeah.
What do you think is the probability of us actually succeeding?
0.
Today?
Actually, genuinely 0. Like.
Episode 4 was probably my favourite to film. The set was amazing, and like everyone sort of pitched in and helped with the set. We were like putting the stuff into the ceiling to hang off, and it was honestly, it was so fun. We were efficient, but we also had like a nice amount of fun with it.
We all knew our roles so well, and we had an amazing brief. We had an amazing guest judge, and we were all really excited about it being our last day in the kitchen and getting ready to move over to Mark's the next day. And so I think morale on the 4th day was at its highest.
With your curry, it may be easier, I think I'm allowed to say this, is do a mix between spicy and sweet, then you can up the sweet or up the spicy, depending on how hot you want it to be.
I sort of wasn't sure what to make at first, and so a lot of people from behind the scenes were sort of throwing out ideas and stuff, and there was a bit of an influence for me to make a certain dish, and I did obviously want to make it in the end because I literally could not think of anything else to make, but just putting it out there, a lot of people wanted to see the dish made.
I think I'm going to do an Indian pizza.
We had our lunch break and we had like some leftover chicken and pasta or something, and he made me just something to eat because I hadn't eaten because I'm an idiot.
That definitely made me want to see an episode of Lennon. Maybe against a contestant.
I'm categorising flowers.
Ooh. The same for you, Lisa? Categorising?
Not categorising, but putting in shit.
Oh, actually putting in. Damn.
Teamwork.
Detail to the set design going on right now.
Firstly, it was the one I was most excited to do the set design for. India is so beautiful. There's so many elements and aspects that I could have used, but it was really hard to narrow down. There's a lot of different religions also in India, and I didn't want to single any of those out or make it just about one. So it's trying to remove the religious element but maintain the Indian culture. And I really wanted to make it an interactive set. We had incense burning all of the day, spices out for the girls to use while they were cooking, so it was really kind of tactile there.
Well, it looks like you've both got very similar ingredients today, but you're using them in different ways.
Well, that was the plan.
Today, to add a bit of spice to the challenge, you'll be swapping your ingredients with each other.
So in the first season, episode 4 had the big twist of them working together. So we had a lot of different ideas for what we could do as a twist. But one of my favourites was swapping their ingredients over.
Whoever planned that out really got it wrong. Because why would you do that for the penultimate episode rather than like the first episode, like the episode where you're meant to have the skills, you're meant to build up your skills, and then they put that on you.
My mum messaged me sending over an article that Roshan had done on Harbour Street, which is where her restaurant Ramsgate Tandoori is. That's when me and her realised that not only is she the owner of an Indian restaurant, which was a brief that we were hoping to do, but also that she is the mayor of Ramsgate. That was my ultimate guest judge, but I thought that I would never be able to get it.
How on earth do you find the mayor of Ramsgate to decide a judge on your show?
Obviously, Roshan being the mayor of Ramsgate, she had a very busy schedule, so this was one of our harder guest judges to get involved.
So I went there after uni one day and I went and spoke to her and just laid it all out to her and explained how sort of local we're trying to make it feel, and she was on board from that moment onwards.
And of course, with her carrying out Ramadan, we had to be respectful of that, and us as a party and her, we sort of didn't realise that it would fall on the same time as the filming, so we had to be quite adept on what we did at that point, and that left me to try the food.
After she did a little bit, she was like, right, pictures. It's like she had like an earpiece in and a PR person was talking to her.
Getting a picture of her and her being very supportive of the show and very happy to be on it was quite nice.
Thank you. Very nice to meet you. Thank you.
But wait, you don't know what you're cooking tomorrow.
Yes. Okay.
Well done, guys.
That's done. It's done.
What are we thinking?
Got a lot to do.
Got a lot to do.
Yeah.
And there was a little family moving things. And there's so many signs. Got a whole list of what's going on.
We really didn't leave ourselves much time to do that. I think the caretakers asked us to leave like an hour earlier as well. So we were so pushed for time, but every single person on that set got stuck in and we managed to make it look even better than it did when we got there. And that was an incredible feat, really.
My favourite episode to film was definitely Fine Dining.
But it has to be day 5.
Definitely the final.
I would say it was finale looking back at it.
Filming.
It was just so new and it was stressful and it was a worry and out of all of our comfort zones, but the fact that it was so different brought a level of excitement that I hadn't sort of had since season 1's first episode.
When we found out that like we had to go to a real restaurant and make like real food for real people, it was sort of like a stressful thought. Actually cooking like a chef is a lot different to like making like a smaller meal, and then it's also like quality and stuff like that, so it was like quite stressful to think about.
I mean, I was shocked because I didn't know that something like that could be in the budget. You know, as a group of like under 20s, no degrees, no nothing to back them up, that you could just go up to a restaurant and be like, can we use your kitchen for the day?
I didn't know they were time restricted.
No, I don't know if they added that recently, but you have to pay to get extra.
Let's get off then.
Mark is a great part of the show, to be honest with you. And yeah, no, he's a great guy and he really cares about cooking. And it's great to have someone local.
I think part of the reason why he works so well is because he does really care about cooking and he does want young people to know.
And he was more than accommodating. He made all the arrangements necessary, got all the produce in, he arranged his staff to be there, he sorted out the tills and the music and allowed us basically free reign to deliver this episode. And crucially, he took on the role of a culinary instructor. He was teaching the 2 contestants.
He was there to support us. He would let us come up with our own ideas.
Not to beat a dead horse, but no one was expecting him to come in and be the way he was on camera in season 1. So season 2, we just had to have him back. Like, how could you not after that performance?
I wanted to come back just because I wanted to see what it would be like in season 2, just to see how it was going and if I could, outdo any of the contestants in their performance.
There wasn't any pressure on us to cook.
We had all these ideas, but we were originally going to be thrown out of a van in front of Mark Pierre's or something, and then we'd rock up in whatever.
I don't know why that idea got stopped. I don't think it was mine. I'm not that nuts. Before they started cooking, Henry and I had gotten there quite early to do some stuff before, which ended up getting cut.
It was all 4 of us, me, Tom, Anise and Alyssa. And the only people who said more than 3 words were, I think, Alyssa and I. A lot of pressure?
A little bit, yeah. It's okay.
Yeah, how you prepared for it so far?
We started our prep, which is good.
It's good.
I think all 4 of us as a combination were all just incredibly awkward people.
It was just so like horrifically awkward and like long that I think it just got edited out completely because it just was not good. It was not good TV.
I think if Mark looked as sexy as you, then that would look pretty good.
fastest 1 metre away, chef, so get everything on the plate.
The host, I got used to as we this was the 5th episode. We were relaxed. I knew what I had to do. And then you add also the waiter to get them their food. There's the first 15-20 minutes where I'm there like, oh my god, I don't know what I'm doing. How am I going to get through the whole night? And then as soon as it started to turn over a bit easier, I fell into it and it made it so much easier.
There we go. I'm happy now. Delete that, please. Oh! I've got to take scores, come on.
I think one of the main things that people are going to be surprised at with this season is just the change in Lennon. He's a lot more bouncy, he's a lot more light in this season, his presenting style is a lot more like chill, and in general you can tell he's having a lot more of a fun time because he's more comfortable in his role this time.
Lennon did a fantastic job, and he really just became such a kind of irreplaceable part of the show. Just really came into his own, funny, and he's definitely in a great place at the end of this season to go into a 3rd season of the show.
What are you doing back? I heard you. No, I'm joking. I'm really sorry about that. I'm really sorry.
Honestly,
I'm really sorry.
really well, honestly.
The winner of XEN'S Cooking Season 2 is Anise.
Winning the show doesn't feel as big as actually being a part of the show.
I like that. As hectic as it was, just that feeling of ending this lovely project that lots of people worked on and put together, and it coming out so pure and well, I think was just a lovely relief, and yeah, very proud moment.
I think my favourite part about filming was that mostly the kind of environment, the atmosphere of all kind of striving to create one thing. And I think because I haven't done that much before it, and especially with people that are generally enthusiastic to do it, that was really great.
Watching it grow from where it is to then actually being part of the team and having a goal, having a plan and watching it actually happen, it was just such a good feeling to say we've done this and we've taken it from where it was at the very start to this whole new level.
Next! XEN'S Cooking Season 2 is a lot different to the first in quite a few ways, but also keeps like the heart of Season 1.
And I think the finale itself has a massive part in the next level up, but then you've also got to take all that back and look at all the tiny bits like getting in a set designer, the photographer, and having these little roles that may not seem to the outside person as such a big deal, but they make such a difference in the whole show.
Finale for XEN'S Cooking Season 2, Episode 5.
Marketing this season is more unique to the first in the sense that we tried to take a step away from more curated content and tried to take a bit more of an authentic look at it, because at the end of the day, it's not just our show anymore, it's ours and 20 odd other Kickstarter backers. So the live panel was probably the biggest and scariest thing for me to do, and I was thinking, how can I kick off this campaign as like a thing for XEN'S Cooking? So I sort of eased it in on Sid. I was like, why don't we like do this like little showing of the trailer and stuff, and like in the style of a panel. And Sid instantly loved it. He was like, yes, oh my god, that's great, that's a great idea.
The reason we did it at Olbies was because we knew that they had the facilities after looking into their post-production facilities. We knew that they had a stage, but that it was also quite an intimate venue, so it was perfect for our sort of size of audience. Me and Lee worked quite closely with a guy called Steve, and he helped us organise the event to perfection. I couldn't have asked for it to go any better, really, because of the turnout that we had and the stuff that we were able to say about Season 2 to start getting people excited.
It was a really nice atmosphere because we got to break down any wall between us and the audience, because the people who were fans, they could come, they could ask us a question, they realised we're all just people, we're all just getting on with it, and it was really nice to sort of bring down the curtain and sort of just show people what we'd come up with.
Those crossing the T's, dotting the I's, it felt like the last stage before we got to see it.
People were like, are you free this week? I'm like, no, I'm actually attending a premiere, so.
So we went to the Palace Cinema in Broadstairs, which was great, and premiered the first episode there. It was amazing to see everyone's reactions to that and bring a lot more people than we did in the first season's premiere.
Premiere was lovely. It was good to get together without kind of stressing to get through the days of filming, in the sense of like get everything in.
The fact that we were able to all sit in like a big space together and be able to just watch it on this big screen and just experience what we'd all worked hard to put together was a very, 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 very rewarding experience.
I never thought I'd get a chance like this where I could make a whole cooking show and see it premiered in a cinema. It was just a really nice moment. It just made me reminisce about how proud of the work I have done and that everyone else has done.
And then we also went to the George Inn afterwards and hired out a private room for everyone to celebrate the season there with some food. It was great to see people there like Mark, his wife, Henry from the first season, Sharon, of course, who was a guest judge.
Got a drink from Mark.
I apologise for eating as much food as I did. I'm lying, I don't apologise for that, it's all yummy.
You know, we invited the Kickstarter donors as well, so it was a really nice environment. Everyone sort of loved the show in its own way, which is great.
I mean, I had all my friends there, and then obviously there was friends of other people, and we had the whole little Zen cooking community was there, and
just to see finally all the work we put off, that's so special to me.
One word to describe the whole of the last series. Wow. One word.
Fulfilling.
Interesting.
Aspirational.
Fun.
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 Salivating.
Serendipitous.
Triumph.
Spectacular.
Let's go with incredible.
It was definitely an uphill battle to get to where we wanted it to be, but ultimately I can look back on it and I can be proud of it and I can feel like it is where I wanted it to be. There are certain parts of the series, of course, that suffered from a lot of the difficulties that we faced, but as a complete product, I am really proud of it and proud of the work that everyone who worked on it put into it.
We're done? Yeah. XEN'S Cooking Season 2!
It is something that gives a lot of people hope for what they can achieve for themselves in the future. It's one of those things that you do not imagine that you would ever be able to do, and it takes so much effort and so much planning and so much time and so much money, and it is very, very much an aspirational project, but it's something that has been achieved by every single person that's worked on it, season 1 and season 2.
Even though it wasn't always perfect, it was what we produced, it was still so impressive that we could all do that.
Bitchy? Maybe? Because me and Alyssa were quite catty, weren't we?
I think this is the most fun I've had filming anything ever, and everyone seemed to have fun on sets and off set and at the Airbnbs.
It was just a lovely sense of like community, and I'd love to have that again.
If I could just click my fingers and have the money and have the ability to do a third season, I absolutely would. But I would obviously have the task of getting to the position where we're ready to do that.
If the opportunity arose, absolutely. I'd love to be involved in production or, anything really. I think I could try and even spare more time for it because you could tell it was a passion project. Everyone there wanted to be there. Everyone's gets on very well.
I would come back for a third season whether I was asked or not. They're stuck with me now.
I would 100% come back for another season.
Of course. I would not miss it for anything.
I just don't see why I wouldn't. It was such an incredible opportunity to begin with, and I'd like to actually be on set more if I was able to.
Of course I would like to do a third season, that's not even a question.
I don't see why I wouldn't. Like, I really enjoyed it and I would definitely come back.
Would I come back for season 3? Stupid question. I'm your man, I'll be right there.
For me to come back, I would need to know that there's something more we can deliver. I'm very happy with how season 2 turned out and how it improved on season 1, but I do not want to deliver a subpar product.
Everyone that's working on the show is at such a crucial part of their lives where we all need maybe a year or so to breathe and maybe collect some money for the third season, and then we can tackle that with a much more mature viewpoint.